there have been 10 members of the Bloodline, and that's kind of crazy, because when I think Bloodline, I kind of just think 4 members, but no, really, 10 members, and today we're ranking them from least important all the way to most important, your top 10 Bloodline members, if you will, and I got this idea from Mr. Sante Zap, so let's just get right into it. Number 10 is going to be Tonga Loa. Tonga Loa is the least important. He just joined not too long ago, but in reality, what has he done? Even when he debuted, it wasn't like that crazy. In fact, the only thing crazy about his debut was we thought it was going to be Jacob Fatu. The craziest thing that Tonga Loa has done so far is he debuted instead of somebody else. Some gaming terminology for you. He's an NPC, a non-playable character. He's just background scenery for the Bloodline at this point. He doesn't have any personality. He doesn't, nothing. Like, he just stands there. I don't see anything. And which is crazy because in New Japan, he was G.O.D., the Gorillas of Destiny, and he can talk. He has personality and presence, but right now, he doesn't really know what to do with it, and he's just kind of there. Number 9 is his brother, Tama Tonga, and Tama Tonga is also fairly new. He does have personality, though. He definitely has a mean face. He's definitely more vicious than Tonga Loa. When he's making his way to the ring, he kind of slithers, and I really do like that. It gives him personality. You gotta maximize your minutes. For every moment you're on TV, you gotta do something in order to get people's attention. And if that's slithering out, then slither away, my friend. And he also does this thing sometimes. He did this one, it was like a backstage interview with the Bloodline Solo Sikoa, and he was going whatever the case may be, I remember it. Hey, it worked. Jacob Fatu is number 8, and he is a victim of time on this list. As of right now, he has only been on Smackdown TV for 2 weeks. His debut was so impactful. I had actually shot this video before, and I had ranked him above Solo Sikoa. However, I didn't publish that video fast enough, and I've had to since redo the video because after the beatdown of Paul Heyman, Solo Sikoa has jumped up that list. We'll talk Solo later. We gotta talk Jacob Fatu. His debut was one of the best in taking out 3 top baby faces: Kevin Owens, Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes, the guy who beat Roman Reigns. Incredible debut. I am in love with Jacob Fatu. He maximizes his minutes. Everything he does, from his open mouth, just the way he comes out, his entrance music, just amazing. But as it stands, he's had only 2 weeks, but no doubt in my mind he will be higher very soon. Number 7 is Jimmy Uso. It's crazy that Jimmy Uso is so far down the list, and the reason why, basically, Jey Uso, you know, he came out a main event player. Jimmy was more of just playing the role of supporting character of Jay's storyline, or the antagonist. Don't get me wrong, the antagonist is a very, very, very important role, but he was the antagonist to a supporting character, because Jay, make no mistake, is a supporting character of Roman Reigns. However, Jay does come out on his own spin-off show of being a main character, but Jimmy was more there for other people's stories. Now, Jimmy did come out with a character, though, and his character was someone who thought he was more important than he was. And what I mean is this. There was one segment where Roman Reigns was about to announce his successor, saying who will take over when it's said and done. And Jimmy's just in the background going, yeah, it's gonna be me, it's gonna be me, can't wait. Roman goes, Solo. And Jimmy was surprised. Jimmy was legit surprised. And that's because he thinks he's more important than he is. When you stack everybody up, Jimmy's just not as important as the other guys. And it's no shade, because the Bloodline is stacked with talent. I mean, I haven't seen a group like this since original NWO before they ballooned up. And I will say, Jimmy was higher on the list, but then our number 6 guy really stepped it up. Solo Sikoa, out of nowhere. Originally on my list, number 8, all the way to number 6. He did something so crazy impactful on SmackDown. He destroyed Paul Heyman. He was on the microphone. He looked and felt like a leader. He made a hard decision and destroyed Paul Heyman. I was literally streaming it. I legit got mad at Solo Sikoa. That just shows that I have finally connected with him. He's finally coming into his own with this decision to completely destroy Paul Heyman, that I went from bumping him from number 8 all the way to number 6. Whether it's a rogue tribal chief or an official tribal chief, he did it. He finally stepped out of the shadows and did it. He still has a long way to go. As the second tribal chief of the Bloodline, he should be higher on the list even. Let's revisit this list in a couple of months and see where Solo's at. He's in the right direction though. And number 5 is going to be Jey Uso. This one, little controversial because Jey Uso arguably has come out of the Bloodline looking the best other than probably Roman Reigns. Jey Uso has launched into a singles career. He has Yeet. He sold more merchandise than Cody Rhodes one time. And he had arguably the best story of anybody. It all started with Jey, right? Jimmy's out on injury. Jey's Roman's first challenger. That storyline just continues. Roman is always just humiliating Jey until finally Jey snaps. They get into the Civil War with Roman and Sikoa. He gets the main event in SummerSlam. Jey was such a crucial member. Out of the two, Jey and Jimmy, he had the more monumental moments. And it might have simply because of who was injured when the Bloodline started, but be that as it may, Jey got the nod. Here's my most controversial pick. My number 4 pick is actually The Rock. Let's forget about the fact that Rock was going to take Cody's spot for real. But here's the thing. The Rock, when he becomes a Bloodline member, that was must-see TV. I had a very hard time putting The Rock at number 4, and the only reason why I did that was because it was at the tail end of Roman's Bloodline chapter saga. Now, don't get me wrong, I do believe there's more Bloodline in the future. The Rock might even be the real Bloodline chief right now. We don't know. The Rock's number could change in 3 months during War Games, during WrestleMania 41, depending on what happens next. But where we stand right now, right before SummerSlam of 2024, I put The Rock at number 4 because he's at the tail end of Roman's reign. He had 2 months where he was just completely all over the storyline, and it shows because he's so high on the list, but at the end of the day, he just came at the end, and it was great because he did make it all new and fresh again and cool again. He did kind of overshadow Roman even, so that part did a little kind of suck. I just feel that the number 3 person deserves it a little more, only because he was in it for a lot longer and he was a centerpiece, and that is, can't believe I'm about to say this, but the person who ranks above Rock in importance is the honorary Oos, Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn was so brilliant in the Bloodline. Oh my God, when he said he's not feeling very oosy, and he made Roman crack and Jey crack and Jimmy, everybody, go watch that segment and just literally type Sami Zayn oosy. You watch that, you're gonna laugh. That is so hilarious. I literally watch that like once every 2 weeks, and I die laughing every time. There's not been a time where I've not died laughing. Sami Zayn in the Bloodline was pure gold, and the thing about it was, we don't remember it because we have a very short memory, but for a minute there, nobody really liked Roman Reigns' storyline as the tribal chief. We didn't fully accept it right away, and it kinda was really stale when Roman came out of WrestleMania 38. And Sami Zayn was this, like, he was a heel, but he was kind of goofy still. He was coming out of a loss from Jackass, of all people, from WrestleMania 38. Those two worlds collided. And somehow Sami got into the Bloodline. He was so loyal, and he tried so hard, and he was the whipping boy. It was just great. I believe Sami saved the Bloodline. Sami got us to a point where we could really see how special and how great the Bloodline was. Don't get me wrong. I don't want you to think that Sami was 100% needed for Roman to be Roman Reigns, the tribal chief, but at the same time, he was so crucial to WrestleMania 38 all the way to Elimination Chamber right before WrestleMania 39 that we had the Sami Zayn storyline with the Bloodline, and it was just crazy good, so funny, so many of the most brilliant and hilarious moments of the Bloodline era, you will notice, will come from Sami Zayn. I still feel that it's weird putting Sami above The Rock because The Rock's stuff was so great, but Sami's stuff was so great. But I just know when I go back and look at the Bloodline, I enjoy the Sami stuff more than The Rock stuff. And I really enjoy The Rock stuff, so that's just insane to me. At least with Sami Zayn, there was no overshadowing Roman. In fact, you got a different character out of Roman. You know, he would eat popcorn with Sammy. You know what I mean? He would stick up for Sammy. Number 2 is, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Paul Heyman. One of the 2 guys that have been in both Bloodline. Paul Heyman single-handedly is making the Bloodline, the new Bloodline, work. Over the last 10, 20, 30 years as an on-screen character has been despicable. He's been horrible. He's been just, you wanted him to get punched in the face, right? So when the time came for us to just beat him down, we should have been cheering, right? But no, we were booing. They had turned Paul Heyman, since Roman leaving and Solo taking over, into a sympathetic hostage, basically. And it just gives Paul credit. Paul helped get over the first Bloodline with his auditory skills. And now Paul has helped get over the second Bloodline with his beatdown. And let me tell you something, behind the scenes, Jim Cornette has said on multiple occasions that Paul Heyman does not like to take bumps. He does not know how to take a punch. He doesn't know how to do this. He doesn't know how to do that. And yet on Friday, to get over the Bloodline, he took a Samoan spike, a flying headbutt from Jacob Fatu, and a triple powerbomb onto a table. What a guy. He sold the crap out of the Bloodline 2.0 up until this point. He's the only thing that kept it going. It was failing, but Paul was holding it up. Paul was telling us what we were supposed to perceive the Bloodline as, and once Jacob Fatu came, we were like, okay, maybe the Bloodline is what Paul's been saying, but now that he's taken this horrendous beatdown, we can see that everything Paul was saying was true. Paul and Jacob have gotten the Bloodline 2.0 over. I now believe them to be the threat that they say they to be. And then Paul Heyman with Roman Reigns, it was God-tier hype up with Roman Reigns. And the way he looked at him, all the mannerisms, the love, the respect, the fear, the friendship, the everything. Paul Heyman was just the mouthpiece. He was the guy who got things done. He was just so crucial in front of the camera, but I have no doubts behind the scenes as well. Paul Heyman and Roman must have been talking all the time about what we could do to make things better, but we're not talking behind the scenes. But I did want to acknowledge Paul Heyman's contribution to the storyline as a whole behind the scenes, but in front of the camera, he had been there almost day 1, maybe day 3, all the way to the end, to even the current rendition, and he was gone for maybe a 3-week time period when he got interjected in the storyline with Brock Lesnar on whose side who was on. But for the most part, Paul Heyman all the way right there at the Tribal Chief side. And number 1, of course, had to be the Tribal Chief himself, Roman Reigns. I don't think we need to go into it. Roman changed the game, all right? He 100% changed the game of wrestling. He carried the WWE out from the 2020 dark age of that stuff that was happening in the world. He literally carried the WWE on his back out of 2020 all the way to 2024, where wrestling is cool again. So much so that The Rock said, I'm coming back to be a part of that. And he has brought so many fans back and got so many new fans and people just in love. And I acknowledge you, Roman Reigns, as the number 1 guy, because you did it, man. You did it. We hated you for so long, and what did you do? You shoved it down all your critics' throats, myself included. You are literally the Tribal Chief of WWE, and there will never be another one like you. I could go on and on, but there's no need. It was so obvious who was going to be the number 1 choice. Roman Reigns is number 1, and that is your 10 Bloodline members ranked top to bottom. Please comment below. Tell me who your top 10 are, or at least tell me, really, Sami Zayn above The Rock? Tell me what you think in the comments below. You get a chance to win a belt if you do. Once I hit 10,000 subscribers, I will pull at random a name from someone who commented on a video, and the more comments you can do on more videos, the more chances you get to win. So I do appreciate every single one of you. I acknowledge the Bloodline for how awesome and great it is, and I acknowledge Roman Reigns, my Tribal Chief, as the greatest Bloodline member, and I hope you acknowledge the subscribe button. Have a great day.